Hey there, hope you're having a good day. Nate Kane here, guitarist and guitar teacher out of Provo, Utah. Today we're going to talk about some gear. We're going to talk about expensive gear versus affordable gear and why I personally choose to play more affordable gear now, even after owning some higher end gear. Before we do that, let's play a little bit. I'm not warmed up, and so this will come with plenty of mistakes, but I'm going to play around a little bit with my original song, Wanderlust. And then we'll talk a little bit about that song, and we'll take it from there. There we go, there's one. There you go, something like that. Let's talk about that a little bit, and we'll talk about that part that I messed up. I'm not afraid to show the mistakes I make here. I think it's good. I think, especially as a guitar teacher, I think it's good to show that. Like, everybody makes mistakes, right? I should do another video about that sometime, but we'll do that another time. So that song, like I said, that's an original song. I called it Wanderlust, and the idea is to kind of have a feeling of maybe a little bit of mystery, kind of wandering. It's not meant to be too happy, not meant to be too sad. I tried to find some pretty melodies in there. And so there's two parts to the song. The A part, I bounce between an A major and an E minor, and specifically A major 9 and, E minor 9. And then I'm just kind of doing a 3/4, waltz. So that's kind of what I lay down, and then I'm playing within those chords. So that main melody goes like this. So what I'm doing there is I'm still just thinking of A major to E minor, but I'm playing around with different voicings. So I'm using different chord inversions. I start up at this A chord, and then I move down to this E minor chord here, okay? And for that melody, I just played around with different ideas, moving from an A to an E to make sure that I'm still playing within the chords and I still carry that change, especially when I'm playing solo acoustic. So I played moving between those chords until I found a melody and a sound that I liked. And so I landed on, that's kind of the core of it. And even that second part, it's basically just a harmony of that same melody, right? So that's kind of what I'm doing there. It's nothing too crazy, like theory-wise. One thing I'll mention for anyone curious is that part of this melody here, part of what helps target that sound is that I'm playing over an A dominant 7, okay? And the reason for that is that the chords I'm playing in, I'm moving from A major to E minor. But check this out. The minor 3 of an E minor is the flat 7 of A. So that shared note causes me to play an A dominant 7 as I'm playing around. So if I want to play a good melody with a descending line and I target that, sounds like this. It's almost like I'm walking down the scale. And that's why it can be really important to choose chords that feel inspiring and that kind of have a cool sound in and of themselves. If you're playing with really simple chords, you can write cool melodies over top for sure. I struggle with that more than if I have some more interesting chords or more interesting chord change that forces me to kind of switch it up and play some more intricate melodies simply by following the chord. So that was kind of my approach to that A section there. The B section, I go G, D, and then I play around in D. G. Here's that part I messed up. Let's see, how does that go? Something like that, yeah. So it's basically just faster. My hands are cold, but not like I need an excuse anyways. Sometimes I just miss it. So I'm just running down, basically like playing around in a D. That one is a little more, there isn't as much structure to it. But I'm just kind of playing around any interesting notes around like this D chord. So I'm moving from here, down here, and then down to the G. So not that I'm playing that cleaner now anyways, but that's fine. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. Pretty simple. It's a fun little song. Still a work in progress. So something I'm working on. Obviously plenty of mistakes, plenty of parts I want to clean up and get sharper at, but it's good. I like pushing myself with any of those lines, any of those things that are harder for me to play, that don't feel as comfortable, because that's how I'm going to get better, right? I teach, but I mean, first and foremost, I think of myself as a guitar student. I feel like I learn every time I play, and every time I write and sit down to play, I'm always trying to push myself and learn new things and try new things so I can continue growing as a musician and as a guitarist. So anyways, enough of that. Let's talk about some gear. So like I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about expensive versus cheap gear, and why I personally now prefer to own and play more affordable gear rather than this really high-end expensive gear. So I'll first start off by saying that I've been very grateful and blessed to own some really cool gear. I've had Gibson Les Paul, I've had US standard Telecasters and Stratocasters, I've had several standard Martins from like the Martin US factory. Really cool, really beautiful guitars. It's been awesome to get to own all of that. And now I play, my main acoustic that I play home is this Eastman here. It's the Eastman PCH 1 OM. This is a $400 guitar, brand new. Another one of my favorite guitars that I've got around is this Jim Dandy Gretsch. So this thing here is like $150 new, maybe $200. I think I paid $150 for it new. I think this thing sounds cool. It's got a it's just got a cool kind of folky sound to it. It's a really small body, but I love this thing and I play this thing all the time. But like I said, I mean, it's, you know, $150 new. I've got this Yamaha Revstar, and this one is pretty nice. It's also their standard series, so this one sits at around $1,000, but it's not like their full-blown professional, and still not anywhere, you know, near the cost. It's almost a third the cost of a US standard Gibson Les Paul, maybe half the cost of some of those US standard Telecasters and Strats, but I love this thing. And then behind me on the right here, I'll pick it up, but I've got a made in Mexico Telecaster. It's one of their Player series. I think it's the Player 2. But I really like that thing as well. And so why, if I have had the opportunity to own some of these really cool guitars, why do I have these ones now? Why did I sell those other ones? Why do I play this more affordable gear? And I have a few reasons for it. So the main reason is honestly that I don't want to worry about the more expensive gear. So let's use those Martins as an example, okay? When I had those Martins, they spent most of the time in their cases. This guitar also spends most of its time in the case. I leave them in the case with the humidifier. This little Jim Dandy Gretsch I don't care about as much. It's also fully laminate. There's no solid wood on it, at least I don't think. And so that one, I'm not really worried about like humidity or anything like that. I know stuff can still happen, but I'm just not worried about it. But like this Eastman here has it also actually has laminate back and sides, but it has a solid spruce top. And then those standard Martins, of course, are full solid wood. And so you have to keep them humidified. You have to take good care of them. You shouldn't have too many crazy temperature fluctuations nor humidity fluctuations. And so when you own them, you usually leave them in the case, or at least if you live in a place like I do. Like I said, I'm from Utah. It's really dry here. If I leave a standard Martin out, it's going to dry out and it will cause issues over time. And sometimes it doesn't even take that long. So with that, these really nice, beautiful guitars that I had spent most of their time in the case. And that's a lot harder to stomach than a $400 guitar sitting in the case. Because when I walk into my room and play guitar, and maybe I only have 10 minutes or 15 minutes sometimes, or if I just want to pick up and play, I don't always want to open up the case and pull the humidifier out and get everything tuned up and play. It's not that big of a deal, but it's a lot easier to just pick up this little $150 Gretsch that I leave out, right? And that kind of sucks when you're looking at a $3,000 Martin versus a $150 Gretsch. It's not, I don't know, there's something about it that it's just like, oh man, I've got these nice guitars, but I just play this cheaper one all the time. Where this one, even though I still pick that guitar up a ton, when this one sits in the case with the humidifier, because I still keep it humidified for the solid spruce top, I don't mind as much because it's $400. I don't feel like I'm losing a whole lot. And that's a me thing, right? Like, it's not a huge deal. It's fine. I could have left those guitars in there and played them when I wanted to play them, and that's fine. I just felt like I felt like I wasn't getting the use out of them that they deserved and that I had paid for. And so I'd rather put that money elsewhere. And so that's one of the reasons that just kind of, I didn't love about it. But kind of going back to what I stated about not worrying about them is, if I had it out, I'm worrying about it. I'm not going to leave an expensive Martin sitting out in the room to just dry out. And I also always felt kind of stressed about taking a Gibson Les Paul to a gig when I can take a Yamaha Revstar that is, a third of the price, that I honestly like just as much. I prefer the feel of, and frankly, it stays in tune better than the Gibson Les Paul did. But if I can get like all the sounds I love out of that thing, why risk taking a much more expensive guitar out on a gig? And that's how I felt with the Martins as well. And I feel like, especially with the acoustics, man, when you're plugged in with an acoustic, like a $10,000 Martin through Fishman pickups is pretty much going to sound the same as a $400 Eastman through a Fishman pickup. It just is. Like, especially if you're going through the same amp or the same PA or whatever, right? Like, it's really not going to make enough of a difference, at least not to my ears, to merit the worry of taking out a guitar so nice to a show like that. And so those were my main reasons for it. I loved those guitars. I thought they were awesome. They were beautiful to look at. There's something that feels cool about owning something from one of those kind of flagship brands. That is just awesome, having a Martin, a Gibson, a Fender. They're beautiful instruments. I just love them. But I just never felt comfortable owning them, and I feel like overall I have less stress but just as much fun playing guitars like this. So that's one piece of it. Another piece of it is this idea that you can only make a guitar sound so good according to your playing level, right? So let's say it was your first time ever touching a guitar. You're not going to make a $10,000 Martin sound any better than a $150 Gretsch. You're just not. Right? It's just not going to happen, because that comes down to your hands. If you don't know how to play, you can't make any guitar sound good yet. When you do know how to play, there still is kind of threshold there, and I feel like I can't make a $10,000 Martin sound much better than I can make this sound, because so much of it comes down to my playing, and the mistakes I make here are the same mistakes I make there. And so that was another piece of it, is I felt like I'm still learning how to pull everything I can out of the little Jim Dandy Gretsch and out of this Eastman PCH. And so if I'm not even playing these guitars to their full extent, I don't feel like I actually need one of those nicer guitars to make a real difference in my shows and my playing and my recordings, anything like that. I'm not saying they can't be fun to own, but again, for me, it felt like more stress. But functionally, it didn't do anything different for me. So that's another reason is I just feel like, I make an Eastman sound as good as I make an Eastman sound as good as I make a really high-end Martin sound, because it's me, it's my hands, and what I make sound good, and where I fall short, no matter what guitar I'm playing. So those are my thoughts on the nice gear. Guitars are cool. I mean, nice guitars are fun. I think they're really fun. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you play? Do you like more expensive guitars? Do you like more affordable guitars? Do you hear much of a difference? I personally don't hear a great difference between something like this and a standard Martin. There are definitely differences. There are definitely aspects of, those high-end Martins that I can hear are just nicer, smoother than this guitar. But to my ear, like when I'm just sitting down and playing a song, I don't hear enough of a difference to really care all that much, right? But what do you think? Like, do you hear a great difference in the context of a song? How about in the context of a live performance, anything like that? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So if you have any thoughts, anything you want to share, feel free to share that down in the comments. And this is my first YouTube video here, so we'll keep this going and kind of see where it goes. I think it's fun to connect with you guys and talk about gear and talk about all things guitar and music. I just love it. So we'll keep having some fun with it. See you in the next one.